We're live. Hey guys, it's the
Yay.
32nd episode of GuardianCast, if you can believe that already. Every week I have to look it up because the numbers are getting too high to remember off the top of my head. Double
Yeah.
digit numbers, confusing.
Yep.
Um but yeah, it's always like, man, I can't believe it's been that much time already. And the game has come so far since we started doing this. Like when we started doing this, it was like we all knew the state Destiny was in, and we were just like, well, it'll get better eventually, and now is eventually, I guess.
hmm As of how big is what, like if we were pregnant for 32 weeks, right?
Uh
What kind of signs we can expect or
huh.
symptoms? We'd have shortness of breath,
Uh-huh.
heartburn, um, a bunch of things that I can't say on YouTube,
Sure.
and and things like, I guess it's as big as the baby would be as big as a squash.
Yeah, technically, I mean, that's not quite full term. Full term would be 40 weeks, but technically,
It's very close.
in modern medicine, anything that get any baby that gets delivered after 25 weeks, they're typically able to
This is
keep them
things we need to
alive.
take care of this week for our 32-week-old baby is to schedule our 34-week prenatal visit, call our health insurance company, and install our baby's car seat.
Yeah, nice.
So these are things we need to take care of at the end of this
Yeah.
week.
Along with all of the other stuff that we need to take care of every week for Destiny, which is too much
Yeah.
stuff for me to keep up
Yeah,
on.
right. 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 It's getting to be a little overwhelming.
Yeah.
Thankfully, this the Wish Ender thing isn't gonna be a weekendly thing, which is kind of nice. We could probably jump right into that.
Yeah, but
Um,
before that though, I have a question. Have you completed all milestones on all characters every week?
no,
Okay, yeah. Yeah. It just seems
no.
impossible.
What I did, well, I was in the process of moving this week, so I'm like, this coming week, I'm like, I'm gonna do it this time.
Mhm.
But so I finished the milestones last week. I finished all the milestones on my Warlock and Titan, I
Yeah.
think, if I remember, like last week. And this week, I didn't have time to do anything. I just had, like, I finished my Titan and I raided on the Warlock, just like to raid for the first night that I came back. And then, so I just did a very, very quick raid. And then I did like two bosses in with my Titan. But my Titan's like 596
Hmm.
with max light. But yeah, I haven't had time to do everything.
Yeah, week 1 I managed to do all the milestones, all three characters, but I had off the whole week from work. Now I've kind of decided, like, my other two characters, I just get to them if I finish everything on my hunter. But
How are
after
you? So did you complete it on your hunter then this week?
I only have like one more gambit match to do, and for a bounty, powerful rewards. But after that, I'll be done. And I'll probably play my warlock next. I won't get everything done, but
Uh,
just a little
I haven't.
overflow.
What week are we in? This is week
Three,
four,
three.
three. Okay, so we're in week
Oh,
three.
wait a minute. Wait a minute. Third week of the Dreaming City changing, but I don't know.
So we are actually in the fourth week. It came out
Yeah,
on September 4th,
yeah,
right? So yeah, so we are in the fourth week.
yep.
And people just hit 600 like last week. That's like 3 weeks in, and
Yeah, I
that's like,
think we announced it like on the podcast, like it
yeah,
happened that day.
yeah. We were talking about it then, but like,
So it
so like
happened 3 weeks in, the first
a
person.
month, a month for somebody who has all right RNG, not like the best, because the best is gonna be obviously
And
first.
plays a lot. Like
Yeah,
that.
and yeah, you still have to play like every single day to get
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, exactly. Like I feel like I'm playing a lot and I'm behind other people. Like I last night I just hit 580. I just finished the raid for the first time and did the Wish Ender thing. And I'm playing a ton, but
hmm
not as much as some people have more time.
Right. So what do you think about that as someone who doesn't play as much as I mean, as you would like.
Right.
Do you feel like in the state of this current game that like that's a good thing overall,
Yes.
or
A
is it a
hundred
bad
percent.
thing?
100%. I think it's a good thing. Um, I am somebody who is perfectly okay with not being the first person to do something or having everything done within the first week. I think that's a bad thing for the game when you have everything done in the first week. I think even if I was a more casual player, if I was like, I can only play like 4 to 6 hours a week type of
Mm-hmm.
player, I think I would still prefer this because then it would be like, 3 months from now, I might hit max light and that'll be really exciting, as
Right,
opposed to
you'll be doing
just like,
prestige. You'll be doing prestige raids right about the time the raid layer comes out.
right. And as opposed to being like, well, I'm not excited about hitting max level because it doesn't matter at all. Now, like right now, I feel like even when I hit max level, it's going to be an exciting moment, and it's going to be something like, wow, this is the first time in Destiny where this has been an actual achievement instead of just,
Even if somebody else got it before
yeah,
you, essentially,
exactly.
it's an
Yeah, that's
achievement for
fine.
you.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. I would almost say like we could go a step further with it, like make it more difficult. Like you have things that like I'm imagining a system in where you don't have as many things that give you powerful rewards, but that could give you powerful rewards. So you kind
Hmm.
of have to do them all to kind of see where your powerful rewards are actually lied. But I like the current system the way that it is right now.
So I
Um,
think I think like I've thought about this a lot. The pacing I think is about on point because if it takes like someone like myself about a month, a little over a month to get max level, and there's about 3 months before they increase the light level again,
mhm.
that's probably about right. Because then there's going to be some people who play less than me. Obviously, you don't want to feel like, hey, I play a little bit and then like they raise the light like way before I can even hit the cap.
Yeah, I'd almost say that season changes as a result of that might be happening too fast.
Yeah.
That like as a result of us doing that, I know they always want to keep the content rolling, but I'd say like Season of the Outlaw can be in the middle of the end of the next start of the next season.
Hmm.
But I know they want to introduce more weapons and things like that, so that makes it a really really difficult
I
thing.
think I have a solution for that.
Mm.
So, what if like at the beginning of the year they introduced a new level cap and they were going to keep it there for at least 6 months instead of 3 months, and they made it a long grind. They could make it a 2 3 month grind. That'd be
Yeah,
fine. And they could keep it for 6 months or a year at that level cap, but the contingency is after you hit the level cap, I think there should be a means of post level cap progression. I know World of Warcraft does something. EverQuest did something called alternate advancement points, where you could start leveling up like alternate abilities and like very small increases to your character.
well, World of
That
Warcraft has kind of like an alts,
right.
but I mean,
Well,
it's
I don't know. Like there's like points. So basically, like after you hit the level cap, a lot of MMOs do a thing where you can start progressing your character in very small ways that cumulatively add up over time, and basically invest in your character and really dive deep into the progression. And then what you do later is you add a catch up mechanic to like for new people who want to jump into the game. But I think ultimately that's the direction to go with it. If you want to really dive deep into the MMO side of things. I think that like unfortunately like after you hit the level cap, it's not that satisfying to just be like chasing random rolls because it's not a linear path to that. You may never get it. Not really like feeling like you're accomplishing something. You're just like playing and hoping for something to happen. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But
Well, so like, are you saying like, so you're what you're saying is the level cap essentially is outside of the seasons then, or are
yeah,
you?
yeah. So I'm saying, so imagine this. What if for Forsaken they would have came out and said the new level cap is 800. It's going to be like that for a year. they put the soft cap at, I don't know, 650 or 700. Everybody
Yeah.
grinds for 3 months or so. People hit the level cap, you know, like super hardcore people, I'm sure, would do it in like 2 months or less.
Mhm.
And then once you hit the level cap, basically you would have a new system of advancement you would be able to invest into, where it's like, this makes a small improvement to this grenade, you know, and it would only apply to PvE, obviously. You couldn't have it apply to PvP, or it would just be chaos. But um and little tiny small advancements like that over time, where, you know, you pour in like 20 hours and you make like one little small advancement, and then like another 20 hours and you make like another little small
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
advancement, you
yeah.
know.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah. So forget what they call that in World of Warcraft, because there are similar systems
Right.
in World of Warcraft. Um, I mean, a lot of it's gear based though for World of Warcraft, because it's a gear based role playing game.
Hmm.
Um, and well, okay, so like take for example the Solstice gear, right? So the Solstice gear is a good example of what you might be talking about.
Right.
Like but on a much larger scale, meaning that like you get this set that's like you can't infuse it, but you have to do something to improve it a little bit, and you get that little bit of improvement on it. So maybe not an infusion, might not be in that case. So like how that would work in the system would be, so like not your light, but maybe like the mod that you improve on it, or the mod that you change on it might be a little bit different, and it might be a little bit better. And not masterwork, because that's different too.
Right. Yeah, I think the difference with the Solstice gear is it actually bumped the light level higher, which I'm not really looking to do, and ultimately it was pointless that they did that, because it didn't do anything to be 405 at the time. You know, there was no benefit to it other than Nightfall score. That was it, you know. Um I what I want to see is like actual, you know, like, hey, you have been at the level cap and you've invested into your Nova Bomb, your Shatter Nova, or whatever it's called, the Slova Bomb. Now it's gonna have more Seekers come out of it or something, you know, like that's the kind of thing I want to see. You know, like just over time, like you make like little tiny improvements to abilities and make your subclass stronger, you know, be
Yeah. The Kinron has a question about the harmony buff and the blind well. He says when the harmony buff dies, it keeps recharging your super until it wears off. So basically how the harmony buff works is it lasts until 15 seconds, it recharges your super until then. And then you go back to your normal recharge rate. And you have to get another harmony buff if you want to keep damaging the bosses with the white shields, or if you want to get your super back quicker.
So, should we talk about the Wish Ender quest?
Yeah, we
Okay.
can. Hang on 1 second. I actually have to grab some real quick.
Okay. All right. Well, while Exo's gone, guys, if you want to just like throw any questions in chat, we'll just camp for a second here. But I finished the raid for the first time last night, which was pretty exciting. Um, I really enjoyed it. I look forward to doing it again next week. Not ready to do it on a second character yet. None of my other characters are high enough for it. But yeah, it was actually super fun. Like I was pretty prepared for it because I had watched like the Dado guides and stuff like that. And it went a lot smoother than the first day, with us all being appropriate level for the raid. And it should just get easier as like those mechanics become cemented in our head. You know, I think that it'll be interesting to see what the hard mode raid holds. You know, and have an EXO back. Welcome
That
back.
work?
I don't know.
No, am I back though?
You are.
Oh, nice. Sweet. Sorry. Yeah, Wish Under.
Yeah, so Wish Ender completely blindsided us this week. there was a
Yeah.
secret quest. Basically, like if you did the story mission that appeared in the Dreaming City this week, it gave you the option. And there's like a couple things that happen with the curse being at full strength that I noticed. First of all, I went and turned in my offering to the Oracle, and like I'm sure you noticed, like the portal opens up, and you go in there
Mm-hmm.
and talk to the queen, and it's like, what the heck, you know? Like that was super
Yep.
weird.
Yeah, that was different.
Um,
I kind of knew about. I didn't know about the queen, but I knew about the wish ender before I knew about the queen. So
yeah, me
I
too.
found out that like the curse, like so like next week it's gonna look a little weaker, I guess.
Yeah. It'll go back to I don't know if it's gonna, yeah, it's gonna go back to week one, like the curse is at its weakest.
But it's every 3 weeks. It's
So every three
basically.
weeks this will come back. So what happened after you did the story is there was a secret mission you could find in the Dreaming City. It's called a dungeon, is what they're calling it. It's sort
Mhm.
of a mini raid. It's got mechanics in it. It's got the symbols
Yeah.
that we're used to seeing
I,
in the raid.
I said in when we were doing the actual last wish that specifically in the triumphs they're even mentioning it as a dungeon. So I
Yep.
said, okay, so if it's a dungeon, then is this the type of content that we're going to see
God, I hope so.
in addition to, not in lieu of,
Yeah, God, I hope so. I
other
mean,
stuff?
it was a really incredible end game experience. It's actually higher light level requirement than the raid. It goes to 590 by the end of it,
Hmm. Yep.
which
Well, that and like that's another hard cap activity. So what we're
yeah,
finding out about the level grind and how it works is certain things, well, because of the quote that they said about giving us more powerful rewards as we go up, but after we pass that, we get basically a +1. So there are a bunch of activities that are soft capped at 520. There are a bunch of 540, 560, 580, and then there are those rare things that are hard capped at 600, and this is one of those that are hard capped at 600, meaning it'll always give you a big boost to your power level
yep.
regardless of
And there
what
was
level you
multiple powerful rewards too. Like other than the Wish Ender,
are.
I think I got two powerful reward drops during that dungeon,
Yep.
which was pretty awesome.
There should be 3 total.
Three. Okay.
Yeah, so you get the first one for completing the puzzle room, and then you get the second one for defeating the ogre,
Right.
and you get the third one for defeating Duel Incarnu,
Yeah.
which is a priest of the, I believe Duel Incarnu, like in the lore, he's supposed to be or she, I don't know, is supposed to be a priest of Savathun.
Hmm. So
Pretty sure.
that whole experience was fantastic, and it was really challenging. I mean, I'm like, again, only 580. I was like 578 when I started it. And as if it wasn't challenging enough, there is a triumph and an emblem for soloing it, and there's also a triumph for soloing it without dying, which that is a level of hardcore we have never seen Bungie embrace, which I just
Yeah.
love to see. It's
Mhm.
purely aesthetic. You don't need to do it to get
I
any
don't think it's worth
gear.
any points either,
Right. You don't,
but it gives you an emblem, right?
it
Or
gives you
not the,
not the
yeah.
flawless run, but doing it solo gives you an emblem. Um,
Mhm.
I love it. I love what they've done with that. I think that really is going to give hardcore players that itch that they're looking for. And I'd love to see them embrace stuff like that in the future,
So
honestly.
Duel and Karu is apparently, according to the lore, is Crota to if uh, to Savathun, Duel is Crota to Oryx. So like there's Savathun and Duel, and Oryx and
Oh,
Crota, and
it's
Duel is
Savathun's child, is what you're saying?
um from Duel and Karu's perspective, Oryx is her uncle.
Oh, huh. Destiny lore.
Yeah, just a little bit. I mean, it's cool. It's cool that we're getting closer and closer to the sister of Oryx, which means that like we're possibly and more and stuff just pops in there about who we're gonna be fighting next. And I mean,
So going through this content that pops up, I can't help but feel like with this secret stuff, it's like, how are people finding this immediately after it goes live and figuring it out?
The interesting theory of like potentially Bungie employees leaking the
Right. Yeah,
information.
it's either that so it's either leaked or there's somebody out there who's incredibly good at hacking into like the back end of the game and pulling the information out.
I don't know, man. There like there's so much in there. Like I don't even know how they found the wishes.
Right.
Like
I
how
don't
are
know how
we
they
finding the
found the
patterns for
wishes.
this?
I don't know how they knew where to look for Toland when you need to go find Toland. I just feel like there's so many things in Destiny that like get found immediately that I'm like, dude, if this was a single player game without the internet, I never would have found that. I never would have
Right.
known to look for that. You know, like I get
Yeah.
that the internet is a crowdsourced place, but for it to be found the second it goes live, I feel like a couple days at least. You know, it's so
Well,
weird.
the wall wishes, the wall of wishes that
Uh-huh.
we found after the week 2. So as soon as like week 2 went in the raid actually changed itself, and we began to make wishes on a
Yep.
wall. But the wall requires a pattern, and that pattern, like,
I got 8 of them done.
but we don't know where they are. You know, like how did they find out that pattern?
Right.
I mean, you looked at an image, right?
Yeah.
So you were like, "What's
Right.
wish 1? What's wish 2?"
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I'm
but so where do these
with that at least makes sense like that people were just trialing like different sequences for a while and maybe like crowdsourced the work, you know, like I'll try this combination of things, you try this combination, you know what I mean? They could have broken it up like that until they discovered a lot of them. That at least makes sense. There's like a path to figuring it out. There's only a certain number of
Okay, so
combinations.
the 14th wish, right? When
Yeah.
as soon as we found out about the 14th wish, it was like somebody already had it.
Well, really?
Yeah, the 14th wish spawns eggs inside of the raid that you have to kill with the wish ender. So like somebody already had it.
I thought,
Like
wow.
the day the wish ender went
Wow.
live.
Interesting. Huh. That's crazy.
Yeah. So, well, I asked somebody about this, you know, and they said that according to like peppered all throughout the game, all throughout the world, um, we have patterns that we can see in things, and that's how
That's a
it's being
likely
found.
explanation. I don't buy it at all.
But like, how and where are these things? So I can be like, okay, well, if I found that out for myself, then I would know.
Uh-huh.
Because recently, as of yet discovered, we found out 12 of the 15 wishes. That I don't even know how we find out about, you know,
I
the
only
names
have
of the wishes.
I only have 8 of them. Um because some of those other ones teleport you to specific encounters.
Yeah,
Um but
I did the Riven one just because I wanted to go right to Riven, and I needed like somebody to go right to Riven at the end. So I was like, well, I'm stuck at Riven here, so I'm gonna go in on a fresh raid and go to Riven so I can start up the checkpoint again for you guys. So like
yeah.
you don't have to worry about the checkpoints anymore, which is kind of nice. You can go
It's a
right to
lot
Riven.
better in my opinion than the Aqueduct.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, it's a lot better.
And it's like a little bit nostalgia in like old school games where it was like, hey, there's no memory on this game, so you're gonna need to remember this code to resume your
And cheat
progress here.
codes. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like fit. Well, and you think about it, right?
It
It's
wasn't even
how
cheat
many
codes. It was like the game gave you that code, and it was like if you can't finish the game today, you need to remember this.
passwords. Yeah,
Yeah.
like I remember back in the on the normal Nintendo, there was a game called River City Ransom, and you would have to type in a 25-digit password or
Wow, that's
30-digit
long.
password or something like that, and
I
we'd do it and we'd write it all down and we'd start the game where we
I
left off.
remember on Nintendo, the Aladdin game. It was like
Mhm.
each encounter, each boss encounter, there was like a password for that you had to remember.
Yeah, so if you wanted to shut the game off, you'd have to
Right.
remember and put that in to load your game. There
Yep.
wouldn't be any.
You
There
had to
wasn't
write it
any.
down.
Which is weird because like Aladdin definitely came out after Zelda, but I know that they said I'll have to look into it, but I remember with Legend of Zelda was the first game to actually use the save system.
Oh
But in
yeah.
order to do that, you had to flash the EEPROM on the chip every single time
Oh
you
my
wanted to do it.
god.
So what you had to do is you had to, I think, hold the reset button and select and B on the controller in order to get it to say to flash the chip on the actual cartridge itself.
That's so funny. Wow. So after completing the dungeon for the Wish Ender, you're not
Yeah.
done, by the way. That's just the start. um, so after you
That's the
do
hard
that,
part, really.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
really the hard part.
it is
though.
the hard part, but it is the beginning. So then you have to go out, find Toland, talk to Petra, do some other stuff, and then basically go back into the dungeon and find these 3 places where you charge these little runes, and then kill the ogre, and then and only then you can get the Wish Ender, which pretty cool. Unfortunately, there's some bad news about the Wish Ender. It is bugged.
And it's also not great,
Um,
even if it was working properly.
well, so specifically in PvP and against any enemies that move relatively fast, it's not doing full damage. So that's unfortunate. They're
Yeah, so
working on a fix.
you have to hope that your targets will just stay still
Yep.
so that you can shoot them at the appropriate
Yeah.
damage.
Yeah. So
Which is kind of funny, but
yeah, the wall hacks are cool. I'll be interested to see how effective it is after. I know like a lot of people have been telling me it is really effective if you're going against Taken. But other than that, I don't know. I've heard mixed reviews.
well, why would it be better against Taken than any other?
I don't know. I really don't know. But like a lot of people are saying in PvE against Taken that it seems to be. But I know in PvP it's gotten really horrible reviews despite the wall hacks. Like the wall hacks were supposed to be the staple of the bow, and because of the damage, it feels not worth it. For Taken UL. Oh, there's a perk. There's a perk on the bow for Taken.
Oh, like it just does more damage, or
Right. Yeah.
what? Okay, so if it like in PvE the damage isn't bad, but you know, if it's better for taking enemies, then it might be interesting to see a full raid with that as your exotic the entire raid. So
Oh,
would be
okay.
kind of cool.
I see Stone is saying in chat, I guess I'll hold off on the Wish Ender bow. There's something you should know about that, Stone. First of all, it will come out at highlight if you do it, so it's worth it for that alone. But
High-ish. It only was, I'm 596 and it popped at 598 for me.
I mean, if you're out of milestones,
Yeah, it's higher definitely. Yeah.
But so something to keep in mind. We found out in the TWAB, if you don't do it this week, you're gonna have to wait 3 weeks to do it. So just know that. So that's a choice you can make, but just like know that 3 weeks is a long time to wait. Have a chance.
So the person who did like a movie of the week for that though was the gunslinger
Mhm.
or a hunter. I guess he must have changed during halfway through or something like that. Because I can't imagine he was gunslinger the entire time. Yeah, he changed. He changed 3 times, 4 times.
I haven't seen it in here. I didn't see it when I read through this earlier, but is the Malfeasance quest also only this week or no?
No. According to the
Good.
thing, it's supposed to be,
Good. Because
that
that's
I saw Char post a thing about it, how he picked it up, but he said that in his opinion, it should be have a greater chance to spawn during the weekends and then almost a non-existent chance to spawn during the week. But as far as like
if it's gonna stay, if you play Gambit long enough, eventually it'll happen, right? Like that's if it's not going away this week. That's all I have about the Wish Ender. You want to talk about Masterwork cores or Uncommon cores or whatever they want to call them next?
Masterwork cores.
Yeah.
Masterwork cores, uncommon cores.
Yeah.
Where do you want to start?
Well, so since the launch, people have been complaining that Masterwork cores are too rare, that there's not a lot of sources to obtain them, and the cost for infusion is very great if you are
Right.
someone who compulsively infuses everything.
Right.
If you're someone who just started the game in Forsaken, you're probably like, why is it asking me for this currency I've never seen before? You know, like,
Yeah. You're way behind.
yeah, yeah. But so they've taken note of this. They want to make some changes. And so
Right.
what they've said is, number one, they feel that the currency is mislabeled. When they originally implemented in the game, it was supposed to be a pinnacle uh, economy where, you know, it was just to masterwork the items. And since they've added them to infusion, they're going to change the name to make the purpose more obvious for what they're doing with it. So that's okay. That's fine. That's good for people who aren't sure what this is all about. The next thing is that they want to add more sources and reliable sources to earn these cores.
Yeah, so there aren't enough reliable or sources to earn masterwork cores, which can make deciding what to spend them on too difficult, is what it says
Right.
in the TWAB. So I don't know.
I'm okay
Uh
with them being rare. I think like I do think that the way it's working right now for sources wise, like buying 3 from Spider a day and then like only basically getting them, you know, from the that little consumable. Aside from that is a little bit stupid. There should be more sources.
um I think like maybe the finest matter weave needs to automatically like apply what like instead of you picking up the item, it just needs to give you a finest matter weave, and then the next boss could give you a core.
I don't
Like
really
that might
understand like so
Fin- finest matter
it
weave is something that you
right.
put on your player as a buff, and
Yep.
it's only for you. It should be for the entire fire team, but it's only for you.
Yep.
And when it drops, you have to go and apply it towards the next boss. And
I understand. And the weird part is that there's no timer on it. So it feels almost to me like why didn't the masterwork core just drop in the first place? It's like an extra step that's ultimately unnecessary because it's a guaranteed masterwork drop at some point. It
right,
stays on till it drops. So it's
right,
like
and that's a good thing too. Like if they didn't want to give you, if they don't want to give it to you right away, they could be like vastly increasing the core drop, or maybe just make it drop. But I don't know, like I think like if they're gonna keep what they have right now, at least at the very least, we should see the buff, you know, go away entirely.
yeah.
Because then like what's the point of the buff?
Yeah, unless like you said it applies to the whole fire team, I don't
It'd be really cool if it would just like, and then it automatically applied, like it doesn't go in your inventory, you just pick it up and automatically receive the buff.
yeah, that'd be cool. So yeah, this is going to change in the future.
Mhm.
Hopefully the economy will be a little more straightforward and make sense, but not be too forgiving. I do like in Forsaken, despite the problems, that the economy is in a place now where decisions actually matter and I'm actually spending my currencies on something. Kind of felt like for all of Destiny and Destiny 2 that you just have like this abundance of these multiple economies and you're just never really thinking about anything. It's like, what's the point of this? I just give me the items then. Like you always
Yeah.
have max glimmer, you always have max everything.
Well, I usually have max glimmer these days, but what I see a lot is that I am like my masterwork cores are staying level now at like 200 because
Hmm.
of how I'm actually choosing to spend those masterwork cores.
Yeah, I'm really intentional about it as well. I don't really just infuse everything.
Mhm.
I'll only infuse if like I get an exotic that like I can't wear at the same time as something else, or if I need something for a specific encounter, like Black Spindle, or I'm sorry, Whisper of the Worm. I tend
Yeah.
to use a lot because it's used so many encounters. It's hard not to. But I don't say, hey, I need to infuse my whole set of favorite gear up. You know, like that would be a mistake. Don't do that. You know,
That is a giant waste of masterwork cores too.
yep. Wait till you get to 600, then you can start infusing the gear that you like.
Well, and just get a piece of gear that you like, and just be like, hey, uh,
Hold on to it until you get to 600.
yeah, yeah, and then you can infuse it up when you get another 600 piece
Yep.
or whatnot, because it'll make it cheaper
Yep.
if it's the same type of piece. Um,
So I almost have a full set of raid gear. I have everything except the arms.
mhm.
And I'm really hoping that the hard mode raid gear makes a difference because it looks cool, but I'm just disappointed that it doesn't do anything.
I'm curious. I'm curious about that. Maybe
Yeah,
they put that behind the prestige gear on purpose
maybe. I
because
mean,
it would buy them more time, or, um, that they wanted to make their an impactful difference between a prestige uh piece of loot. I hope that it's not just um I hope that it's not just ornaments. That would be bad.
oh yeah, that would be
Do
horrible.
we have a date on that, by the way, when the prestige is
Nope.
coming out?
No, I
No,
haven't
no,
heard
still no date.
anything. Yeah. It's interesting because if it doesn't come out this week, then it'll be 2 weeks after the raid at least. I think longer than one. I don't know. I don't remember when the last.
Which it might be actually intentional,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of people who aren't 600, and if it does require 600, then they want to make sure that there's as many people who are
Yeah,
600.
and I feel like not to take anything away from World's First winners on prestige mode or hard mode raids, but I feel like it's not as much of a race as like, because you're not like learning a blind experience. It's really just like, hey, what's the new mechanics here? What are we light
I would
checked?
say you're right, but I don't like where Destiny's at in that case. Like,
Yeah,
I think the hardest encounter of the raid should be the, like, maybe even remove some things from the raid. Not in this case, but like the raid should be challenging on normal for people who are 550, because
yeah,
that's what they recommend to go into it. So if that's the same way for 600 players, and then on top of that there are mechanics that screw over your
yep,
current strategies and
yeah,
force you to do things differently, then that's where it should be, and then it would make the prestige race that much
yeah.
more important.
That's hard though, Exo, because Bungie can't design the prestige mode around breaking current strategies until they know what the current strategies are. They have to give it to the community to learn what the strategies are to be able to design around that. You know what I mean? So I don't
Yeah,
know
I
if
know.
they have
I
the
know
time.
Blizzard's run into this a few times.
Yeah.
They ran into it with a couple of encounters. Like, what was the last one in Legion? It was uh, not the last one in Legion, but the one before that.
Hmm.
So, Kel was it Kel'Thuzad? I don't. It doesn't matter the boss name. The important thing is, like, Method found a way of getting around certain things that allowed certain classes to drop the buff, and out of 20 raiders they brought 5 of those classes to guarantee that they would be able to drop the buff to not be able to do that. And so Blizzard, I don't think they did anything after, because, like, it was for them, they did the first kill. They didn't really record anything until after they were done, because it's a bigger deal and it takes weeks to do.
So my prediction for the hard mode raid is that because we know that it was data mined to be recommended level 600. So what I expect to see is that it starts at 600, and that probably by the final encounter, Ribbon will probably be like 620. It'll probably be that you're under leveled for it,
I really hope so.
which would be nice.
I think, like, maybe with the prestige, like the first 3 encounters is not that big of a deal, because um right now, those, like, they found out that the first 3 encounters, the boss, the ogre, then the two witches, those encounters are soft capped at 580, and
Hmm.
then the vault and riven are hard capped. So the first 3 encounters could easily stay 580, and then the next 2 encounters could be, like, the vault could be 600, and then the ribbon could be 620, and
Yeah.
it would still be well within the doable thing. The only concern that I have then is what happens when raid layers come out. We need to not be power capped on our damage.
Yeah. Well, I think they'll probably expand power cap.
Oh, we
raid
know
layers.
they'll expand the power cap, but I mean, like, once we get to, say, it's 550 or wait, 600, so it would be 650, right?
Yeah.
So we'd get to 650, and then we would stop doing damage like above a certain number, because that's the way it worked with Leviathan. That's the way it worked with the raid layers.
Oh yeah, that'll happen.
So like, I hope that doesn't happen, and they just allow us to go in and just murder everything.
Yeah.
Like, prestige doesn't matter anymore because that raid is old.
Well,
Like,
it'll be I think it'll work out well, because I think during this period of time, like once it gets released, it'll be a very high-end pinnacle PvE activity that only a small number of people will be able to do. And then I think after the next raid layer comes out, people will be able to go back and get that achievement done, if they want to, without being like in clan redeem or something, So
Yeah.
I think that's actually a good balance. It's like, you want to get this done when it's relevant. It's going to be hard and saddle up, but later on you can go back and do that and get that done and knocked out for your achievements and stuff like that. So, and
Yeah,
it'll
or
also
against
give like the
really
hardcore
hard.
players an advantage, because if there is armor perks like we're talking about, it'll probably apply to the whole area in the Last Wish, globally, like it did with Leviathan. So the people
Yeah.
who go into the next raid layer will have armor with perks that'll probably be useful for the raid layer.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
No, that's true.
So exotics. They're talking about the exotic drop rates.
Oh yeah.
They're saying they want it to be a meaningful long-term chase. That's a good design goal, in my opinion. Rare but impactful. But what they're finding is people are getting too many old exotics and not really getting the new ones as much as they'd like. I think this is true. I think especially getting the quest exotics is
Yeah.
a major bummer. Like, so basically, by completing all of the exotic quests, you effectively reduce your chances of being able to get a new exotic, because you add more things to the pool of what can drop.
Oh yeah, because of the way when you finish, like if you finish a chaperone, or you finish malfeasance, or you finish the wish ender, those all have a chance to drop some years
Yep.
now. And they've said that, as far as the impactful part of the goal, they're not we're not really chasing anything, because when we get our fourth fighting lion, as they say,
Yep.
when all we really want is a two-tailed fox, but I don't really even want that. That's not
It is true though. Like, since Forsaken's dropped, I've probably gotten maybe 4 to 5 exotics total. Like, I haven't counted, but only one has been the Lord of Wolves, which is the only new exotic I have. It's actually a repeat from Destiny 1.
Same. That's the only drop that I've gotten.
Yeah.
That is not. I think I've gotten like 5 exotics.
Yep. And they've all been old.
Some of those are armor. Some of those are weapons. I got a Skyburner's Oath. I got an Aeon Safe.
Yep. It's lame. It's honestly lame. I hate it.
So like, I should be getting exotics that I don't have, and if they don't want to make them,
especially because you don't have a chance so like, if you want to collect all the exotic armor, I have all the exotic armor from year 1 for all 3 characters. If you want to collect all the exotic armor, you have to play all 3 characters. So then it's like, because you can only get hunter armor on a hunter, when you get an exotic. So it's like, now your chances are infinitesimally low of both getting an exotic, being on the right character, and then also getting a new exotic. It's like, you're never going to get it all. So they did need to make an adjustment.
2, they addressed that problem by making exotics just everywhere. And that didn't
I want them to be rare, but we do need be getting new stuff, not
Yeah, that
just
didn't fit the
stuff.
plan with
Yeah.
the way that they wanted the exotics to work, right?
Right. Yep.
So
Yeah, so like they
wait,
can keep them rare. I do like the feeling, like when I see an exotic on the ground right now, I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Like, as before it was like, whatever, I hate these things. It's another thing to dismantle, but now,
or infuse because now they're
right,
above. Yeah, well
right.
now
So,
they're above, so even if you do get something that you don't want,
yep,
you can at
it's
least infuse
exciting.
it.
It's exciting. I just hope that I do get some new stuff eventually.
Yeah,
Um,
like I'm on my warlock and I'm like, I've seen people with chromatic fire. I know it exists, but
yeah,
I'd love to see it on my own character.
yeah. Iron Banner.
Yeah,
So basically, they're saying
light
that.
doesn't matter as much as we thought, but more than what more than what you thought.
Right. Well, they're saying they think it matters too much. They're going to reduce, unfortunately.
Hmm.
I don't agree with this change.
So when I was looking at this graph, are they talking about what's already happening?
Yes.
So I think that's too. I don't think that matters enough.
Yeah. And here's the other thing they're not taking into consideration. They're saying they think it matters too much that in this Iron Banner from what they saw. By the next Iron Banner, which will be a month from now or whatever, there's going to be significantly more people capped at 600. So there's going to be like this, if right now everybody's like in their own spot in grinding, there's just this big stratification of people all over the map.
Yeah,
Right.
it's still everywhere.
So by a month from now, it's going to be a lot closer together. People are going to be 600 or close to
Or
600.
580 at least.
Right. And so not only are they reducing it, but it's going to matter less anyway because people are going to be so much closer together in light. So I just think this is a bad idea. They should have waited at least to see where things flush out in a month and where everybody's at in their grind. But unfortunately, I don't know, this design goal isn't working out for them because they just can't seem to get
Well,
comfortable
so
with
House
the
of
idea of
Wolves,
it.
when you see that graph there, you think to yourself, man, if you were 100 light levels below them, like you were doing, or 30 levels, it was 95%, and it seems to like a reverse graph, and then it kind of like fixes itself.
uh-huh.
I don't know. Like I looking at the other ones, I'm looking Forsaken, and I'm thinking that it doesn't matter. It needs to matter more.
Yeah.
That's what I look at when I see that graph. I'm like, no, that the actual thing should be just like you should get a 10% reduction if you're 20 levels. That's not a whole lot, but I mean it is bigger than what we've had so far.
Yeah. Yep.
But by them showing us the other stuff, I just look at the other one and like it's going to end at a 0.5 damage multiplier. I think that's a mistake. I think it needs to end higher.
Yeah, I was not the highest end of the spectrum, but during Iron Banner I never saw even it make a big enough difference that I could body shot somebody with a sniper. That never happened once. So
Even with his Iron Banner.
yep,
Did you notice that in D1?
never. It honestly in D1 it never mattered enough in my opinion. Never. Everybody was always max level for the most part, and even if you weren't, it felt like it was not a big difference. Like you would notice single digit differences in damage numbers that ultimately did not. It was only super circumstantial that it would make a difference. No, I don't know.
So as far as Destiny launch, it went down to 0.8, and then it stayed at 0.8,
Mm-hmm.
and that was too high for them. So they needed a greater fall off because of the other end of the spectrum.
Right.
Right. So if you're above 20 levels above your opponent, in this case, you would be doing, or they would be receiving, you'd be doing 5% more damage, and they'd be doing yeah. So basically, they would be receiving 10%, 5% more damage, and you'd be doing 5% more damage, which means you'd be doing 10% more damage to them.
Yeah.
So maybe they need to not make the curve go the other way and just make your power of the thing. And why not make it like
So you're saying don't reduce damage output, just increase the amount of damage you take. What you're saying.
Well, that's kind of what it felt like, right? It didn't feel like you were doing more damage just because there was never enough to make an impact to where you could.
The only place I saw an impact is if, like, with Memento Mori on the Ace of Spades, I was consistently two-tapping people who were lower than me.
Yeah. So,
but that's a very small thing. Like, you only need a little bit to make it a two-tap. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and already they're already at a speck of health at the end of the two-tap, because it does with Memento Mori,
like
it'll
93 to the head.
It's 94, 93, yeah. So if it's 93 or 94, that means it's going to be 186, and they have
so a 0 light guardian will already get two-tapped by that. But I'm sorry, a 0 resilience guardian would already get two-tapped by that. But in Iron Banner, if you're like a little bit higher than them, it'll basically two-tap more consistently people who have all different resilience. But that is such a small change. You know what I mean?
What would that do to resilience? Is like people, if that graph moves too much, doesn't it make resilience less important?
Resilience already is not, in my opinion.
No, but I mean, like if it's already not important, doesn't that make it worse on the problem?
Probably, but like I think they need to figure out their design goal for this before like worrying about how resilience fits into the picture for Iron Banner. You know?
Resilience doesn't actually matter on high damage, like aggressive hand cannons.
It doesn't matter on like a lot of weapon archetypes in a straight up like optimal time to kill scenario.
Gotcha. As Davey saying, 10 or 0, it's the same.
Yeah, you can look at charts. Like a lot of times, the only place it makes a difference is like
with the 140s. Davey's saying.
Yeah, well, with like Ace of Spades, like I just made it a point about it. Like if you need at least one resilience to be able to live through 2 Memento Mori shots. But there's
auto rifles would, because I mean, I don't think it's based on the archetype, is it?
It is based, so like 140s, non Ace of Spades. If you want to do 2 headshots, 1 body shot, you can do that to a 0 resilience guardian. But then if they have 1 resilience, you have to hit all 3 headshots. So like just 1 resilience makes the difference there. There is like a couple like scout rifles and stuff where it ends up being like, oh, 1 less headshot or something, but ultimately I just think it's not really worth investing in resilience, in my opinion. You can look at spreadsheets and make a determination about that, but it never comes out to like a less shot. It usually is just like maybe 1 less headshot they have to land. You go low resilience. And they have to land a body shot instead. I don't know. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, well, those stats also need to matter more. That's what Dave is saying, is that the stats need a rework to make the stats matter more. And
I agree, but I do think like ultimately the system we had in Destiny 1 for resilience recovery and agility was better, where you could customize it in your subclass menu instead of having to have armor that was tied to it. Because now there's no way to rework armor, so you need like specific armor with random rolls and all this stuff. It's making it like really complicated. So if they do make resilience matter more, that's fine, but I think there needs to be a more easy way to customize those stats, because you can't rework your armor anymore with Masterwork.
Well, what if they introduced a set of armor that you could rework?
That set was universally applicable to PvP with the perks that I want, that's fine. But I have like a lot of armor that I've saved up. Like I have boots with enhanced sniper rifle dexterity. That it's like a super rare roll to get an enhanced perk. and like I can't rework them, so I have to just deal with whatever stat, whether it's mobility or recovery or resilience, whatever, you know. And
Yeah, so you don't have much control over that.
exactly, yeah.
Well,
So
the
you're
mods should like the mod you should be able to, but then
into the
it's a back step to where we were with the
right.
old mod system.
Yep. So I just think that you need more control over that for PvP, because if you're looking for a specific build for PvP, you're at the mercy of RNG for what perks you're looking for, and then on top of that, you're at the mercy of RNG for what masterwork element type, and you're at the mercy of RNG for whether it comes out as resilience, recovery, or mobility. It's too many layers of RNG uh, for that, in my opinion.
I
Needs to
think
be ways to
mobility needs to go away
rework
as
it.
a stat. Like
Or
it
make it
just
affect
does.
sprint speed.
No, it just needs to go away. And like the stuff that's there, like I think what should replace it is something that's impactful to the damage that you do.
Hmm.
And recovery is
So it would be a
kind of
choice
pointless
of,
too.
do you want to be a glass cannon or do you want to be able to tank more shots? That's what you're
Due to
saying.
like crit percentage increases and
Right.
stuff.
So glass cannon or tank. That's what you're saying basically, right?
Or you could if you're a warlock, you're gonna have stats that are totally different there too. I'm okay with it with being 3 different stats on 3 different classes,
That'd be cool.
as long as
Rolls.
those 3 stats mattered.
Yeah. That's cool.
Because like
Ideas.
from the MMO standpoint, like none of those stats matter. They haven't
Yeah.
mattered since Destiny 2 launched.
Well, recovery matters.
Very little. It does matter, but it's like a
If you
percentage.
play on low recovery, it's very annoying.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is like, and you want to have as high a recovery as you possibly can, but that's really the only stat that matters. Like, why not just get rid of all that and just say,
I
okay,
agree. They should totally rework it. It's not a big enough difference, and the recovery, playing with low recovery, is just a very annoying way to play.
there's a
Unfortunately.
stat in World of Warcraft that they actually introduced to deal with this very problem, and it's called mastery. And the mastery is different for every class that you play it on. So the mastery would be different for, in our case, the golden gun, and it would be different for the fire blades,
Mhm.
and it would be a generally desirable stat in some cases, and you'd want to have it to a certain level, and then after that level you'd want to start stacking other stats and stuff like that.
Right.
So like the mods can do that for you and should do that for you. Like why are we so concerned about us doing more damage that they want to create a secondary system that mostly doesn't matter?
Yeah.
Like I haven't actually heard the argument that makes sense that why Bungie would not want a system like World of Warcraft or any other MMO. I haven't heard a good argument for why we shouldn't have that system already.
I don't know. We should have some Bungie devs on to explain.
So I think maybe the reason why they didn't want that system to begin with is because they didn't want there to be a huge difference between one player and the next.
Which is a problem in an investment game.
But that's
Yeah.
the only reason I can think of.
I know.
Why they
Well,
would want.
you're right. It was a console game. They wanted to make it very accessible, and I think they did learn with the launch of Destiny 2 that they went way too far in that direction, and it made people just not care about the game at all. So hopefully from that they've taken away that they need to dive deeper into the MMO investment side of things. I hope. And I mean, like, there is a lot of changes to reflect that. I just hope they go further with it.
Yeah, I mean crit. So crit would and should increase the critical damage up to a certain point. We talk about this graph for Forsaken. There are graphs in other MMOs that'd be like, where's the crit point? Where do I want to stack to crit? What do I want to do that? And it becomes kind of like a meta game in and of itself.
Yeah.
Because then you can find the gear that has the crit, the mastery, and the haste, or in this case, it would be different stats have it. I'm not suggesting that they should just rip off World of Warcraft.
Yeah, I think they do want to stay away from like the game is a shooter. They do want to stay away from like turning it into a generic like cooldown ability type of game where like you are really relegated down to like this is your role and you need to do this sequence of abilities in this order. You know, like if you've ever played, I don't know if World of Warcraft's like that, probably is, but in Final Fantasy 14 I've played it before, and it comes down to if you play this class, when we're doing this, you need to be doing this ability, then this ability in that order, and then it'll do this thing, and then you restart the cycle over and over again, and it becomes very repetitive. Like the game does need to be a shooter first to feel good, so I get that.
I think that even if they were to go a little bit in that direction or a little bit more in that direction, though, it wouldn't really affect it too much because of the fact that of how the boss mechanics are designed.
Yeah,
The
it's all
mechanics,
around interacting with the world around your gun. You know, you need to use
right,
your gun and relics. That's the other thing.
right, but then the gun, the stats don't make any difference on the actual gun itself. The
Yeah.
only thing that makes a difference is your actual light, and at a certain point, that needs to not be the only thing that makes a difference.
Yep.
So, like, what do we have to chase after 600? We've been talking about this almost the entire podcast.
Yeah.
Once we get to 600, then what?
I hope
So,
that
like,
they have a plan for it. I don't
you
have
know,
faith that they do, but I hope that they do.
where I'd love to talk positively about this expansion. I think this expansion has done
Yes.
so many good things for the game, but like where we go from here is very critical as well.
Unfortunately, I think that their plan is just keep adding content and expanding the light, and it's like there needs to be post level cap progression. There really does. That is the long-term goal. I know they don't want to alienate new people, but that is what catch-up mechanics are for. You know, so when get further in, then they say this, now this is easier for new people. They can jump in and get like X amount of ability points and stuff like that. That's fine. You can
with MMOs, there's like we have the things to grind for now, right? And eventually over time they're going to make those things to grind for probably a little easier, just in by the fact that you have a higher light to handle those things. So like when you get to 635, I imagine you won't be damage capped, and it'll be really easy to get that wish ender. If you couldn't do it now and you can't do it, you know, in 3 weeks or 3 weeks until the end of December when we have Black Armory come out at 650 or whatever you are, is it going to be that much easier for you to go in and kill duel by yourself? Basically, like you can go in and do it, and it's not a big deal. And so like that way they're making that part easier, but then you have like the whole exotic thing too. Like how do they address that? I mean, are we gonna eventually see the faded engrams again?
I think that probably at the end of the year, Xur will start selling some stuff, you know, and the faded engrams may come back after this year's over. You know, like
This season?
No, I think well, I mean it's possible, but I don't think there'll be enough new exotics in the next season to justify that. I think probably next year's expansion, big expansion, will be the time to say like, all right, now all of the Forsaken exotics are in the faded engram pool.
That's March, right?
What? No, it would be September. Like we have an annual pass, but I'm not counting those as expansion. There's going to be 3 content drops, but I don't think that like each one is going to add like 10 new exotics.
So you don't think they're ever going to increase it so much to where we'd see the faded engrams before next year?
No. I don't think so, because if they could add enough exotics in each one of these content drops, then yeah, but I don't think they will. I think they're going to add maybe 1 or 2 exotics with each content drop, weapon wise, and maybe like 1 armor wise. So I just don't think they'll be able to justify it. I think probably next year they'll say, okay, whatever exotics you don't have, you can get them to the faded engrams now, and now there's a whole new set of exotics with whatever expansion comes out in September.
Yeah, catch-up mechanics also benefit the players that are really grinding too, because they can use those catch-up mechanics early and grind out a higher light, or in this case a higher power level. So for World of Warcraft, you'd grind out like you'd use the systems for like the PvP systems to grind out a pretty powerful PvP gear set that you would then be able to take into like a dungeon and get an even higher set and just leapfrog off of that. And that's how Method got their, you know, their ways in that Mythic Plus. But
So I'm
Um,
gonna say a couple positive things here. I think with all of this stuff about bug fixes here, I think Bungie has been more on the ball with quick fixes to the game than they ever have been in the past. Um, what they're saying in here, we've seen like multiple fixes already where they've hot fixed the game in the middle of the week and made important changes. Um, Now they're saying they're addressing things we just learned about this week. The wish ender damage. They're trying to fix that already. They're on top of it.
right.
It's in the TWAB. They're saying that there's this thing that happens when you do the malfeasance quest where you can actually get 6 people into it, which is kind of interesting. I kind of want to try that because that's pretty funny. So I hope I get that before they fix it, but they're working on a fix to that. The Gravetide Summoner bounty, some people aren't getting credit. So they're gonna fix that. The Prime
Right.
Engrams in the Crucible are going to the Postmaster. They're working on a fix to that. They're working on a fix to the Clan Engram not being awarded for Gambit.
Well, the Prime Engrams in the Crucible also has something to do with the way that they had fixed the issue with the Prime Engrams in the past too.
Yep.
Because like the Prime Engrams from Crucible always go to your Postmaster. It always did, and then you could go and pick it up from the Postmaster and not actually reduce your buff by 1, which is confirmed to stack now. At least anecdotally, I didn't play my Titan in probably a week and a half, and I've gotten 7 Prime Engrams, and I pick them up because my buff doesn't go away. It never goes away anymore.
Huh. This guitar error that
Yep,
has been
the
happening
waiter
a
error.
lot. It's been happening a lot. It happened to me during the last encounter of the raid, and Reset had happened to him during the dungeon while he was trying to solo it. Someone told me it has to do with like orbs of light or something like that. If you make too many orbs of light and they're sitting on the ground, that it can cause it. But I'd be
Well,
interested to know.
I saw we were doing the raid last week and we got to the we killed Riven and we were about to make the
Yep,
Queen's Walk. Um
that's where
so
it
we
happened to me
did
too.
yeah, so like that actually happens every single time, and I guess you have to wipe to get it to not happen.
Interesting.
So why would wiping fix that and not doing that?
I don't know. Hopefully
Hmm.
that like, but I'm glad that they're like acknowledging it right away and they're gonna fix it. And at least that's not something that's happening in the middle of like the Riven encounter. That would be really. Um, I'm sure it gives people a lot of panic though, because when you come back into the raid, Riven dead body doesn't spawn right away, so it looks like an empty room,
Yeah,
and people are
yeah,
probably like, "Do we have to do that again? Oh my god!" You know.
especially if you had just done it and you were
Right.
like, "Oh my god, no!"
Yeah.
Um, the, like and flawless raids too, Reese. Not just the.
Oh yeah.
I know you were mid dungeon solo and flawless, but like flawless raid
Is
is
there a
like,
triumph for that? A flawless raid?
well, we don't have a triumph for it just yet, but there is
Okay.
a triumph for there is like on raid report you can
Gotcha.
see a flawless raid. So like if you're going for the on raid report, you don't have the ability to do a flawless raid because if you go back into the raid after you've killed Riven, because you have to,
Doesn't count. Yeah.
it counts as a checkpoint and not a
Right.
full run.
Right. But yeah, they're really on top of this stuff. I'm glad to see it. The only thing that concerns me is they obviously have their full team working on fixing this stuff, which I wonder when they're going to start working on future content. You know, that's a little because in the
Or maybe they
past
just expanded their team. Maybe honestly, maybe they just
that'd be
expanded.
nice, but I don't know if like the handoff has happened because usually they're like, okay, now it's the live team is going to handle this stuff and we're working
Well,
on the
let me
next
ask you
thing.
this. Have we heard anything from Luke Smith since about a month after D2 launched?
Yes, actually, he since Forsaken has come up has been a little bit more vocal, but it is weird. Like I was talking about this last night. I don't know how much the guy is actually responsible for. Um, I don't know if it was his idea to take the game in the direction that it went, or if like it was kind of dictated to him. Unfortunately, he's at the helm when the game was at its worst. So I don't know. I don't know what his role is now. I don't know what he's working on. Be interesting to know
Yeah, he
the
said like a
journal
couple of
stuff.
things during Forsaken because I think almost all of them do.
Yeah.
Like he said, burn on a branch looking to the left.
Mm-hmm.
Forsaken is live, stuff like that. I mean,
Right.
he was vocal before Forsaken as well. So I'm wondering how much of the entire team is working on
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
Someone is down Riven. We have another encounter. Oh my god. It's not over.
But that's mainly all I have for this week. Do you have anything else you want to talk about?
Well, the movie of the week. The movie of the week did a solo flawless run. I mean, I mentioned it a little bit, but I mean, yeah, he's a hunter
Uh-huh.
and he changed multiple times. But yeah, I mean, it was Slayer, I believe, who I don't know if he did it first or
Slayer and
was
Gigs both did it the same day. Um,
I don't know who did it first,
yeah.
but it's interesting how like I know we talked about this a little bit before, but what's really cool about this whole solo flawless thing is that in the community in Destiny 1, there was this small sect of people like Slayer, like who did it first, right? And they're like, we're gonna be the ones to do it first. Like I think it was Oryx
Yeah.
or one of the bosses that they could solo. And I don't remember who did it first or whatnot, but those achievements kind of like transcended the game. And now that they're in Destiny 2, I'm really, really happy to
That's
see
same.
Bungie just straight up embracing that
Yep.
behavior,
I
that player
agree.
behavior.
I agree 100%. Before it was like never intended, and now I think Bungie has just acknowledged like there's going to be people who are able to encounters with less people than intended design. Awesome.
Well, the way I look at the final encounter, right? This dual encounter, like it's actually, in my opinion, if you can handle the ads, you shouldn't have a problem soloing it.
Hmm.
As long as you can handle the little ads, the big ads aren't a problem at all.
Hmm.
Because Slayer used Whisper of the Worm, and
Yeah.
he just basically kept them all at the same health
And
until
kited the knights around.
yeah, and then he popped all their heads all at the same time. Actually, he killed two of them, and then he killed the third one with the extra damage buff. Grabbed the third damage buff and golden gunned the boss.
Yeah.
And I believe he was 600. So he golden gunned the boss in a head, and he got 999999999, and that left the boss at like a speck of health, a very very tiny, like minuscule little speck of health. So I mean, the movie of the week's cool. The honorable mention was Welcome to the Dreaming City. To talk a little bit about the Dreaming City changes again this week. And the quest, that the actual Shattered Throne quest, it actually reports as hidden. You don't actually know where it's at. It says new activities available, but it's not on the map.
Right.
So you actually have to go to the confluence to find it, which is another cool thing. You can't just like, well, let's put it on the map here and just go to wherever the game tells me to go to.
Hmm.
So like it's actually hidden as well. You have to know where it's at.
Um. Let me ask you this. I've heard like an interesting theory. The whole Wish Ender thing disappearing for the next 3 weeks. Do you think there's any chance that there's more dungeons that will rotate in the other 2 weeks?
Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe. We know basically that there's either a quest or there are rare sources for exotics. So unless the exotics are just not in the game and they haven't given us access, similar to Whisper the Worm.
Yeah.
How we don't even know that Whisper the Worm was in the game until it just showed up one day.
Right. Yeah, there could be hidden stuff.
There could be completely hidden stuff, which
I don't want to like overblow people's expectations. I just thought like it is kind of weird that there's 2 weeks where you can't do a dungeon and then only 1 week where you can. I don't know how that rotation will work long term. Unless they have other content. It doesn't have to be dungeons necessarily, unless they have other things going on during the other 2 weeks, you know.
Yeah, I think if they keep it this way, that it'll be like because every weekend turned Twitch especially into Whisper Carry Central on
Hmm.
starting Friday to
Absolutely.
ending Saturday. So like maybe like once every 3 weeks isn't so bad.
Maybe. It does make it weird for people like, so say you're like a casual person and 3 weeks from now you're ready to do it, but you're like, oh crap, I'm on vacation this week, or I have like work all week or something
Yeah.
like that. Then like now you have to wait like another 3 weeks, and then like that's like months, by the time you're finally like able to do it for.
Okay, so let's do some quick maths here. So 12 weeks is the expansion, right? So like this season is 12 weeks, right? That about
Yeah.
fair?
Yeah, we don't
So
know
if it's
exactly the date that they're going to go to season 5, but that sounds about right to me.
so season 5 is about 12 weeks from now. We are in week 4 right now, so that means it's about 2 months away, 8 weeks.
Hmm.
So that means for a total time that we're going to see it is 4 times before the next.
Yeah, that seems a little scarce to me. I mean, I know it's a whole week you have to do it, but I mean, I guess it's not too
It is a
bad.
whole week. It's not a weekend. So for like numbers of days, with that 12 weeks in Warmind, we probably found it at week 4, would you say?
Yeah, and to be fair, the original Whisper or the original Black Spindle quest that was like a daily mission, you only had 24 hours to complete it, and then it would come back like maybe once a week, if that.
Well, that's
So,
the thing. Like comparison for number of days, I think it's
yeah,
the same amount of number of days, or it's really close to it, because you don't. It's not a weekend thing; it's a
right.
full week thing. So
Yeah.
like the number of days that we had for Whisper is probably pretty close to the number of days that we're gonna have in total. But you
Yep,
have an entire week to do it. It's not like you have like
that's true.
a weekend. It's not a weekend exclusive activity. Something to do in 3 weeks, I guess.
Yeah.
There is another thing that I've started to notice, and I don't know what the heck is going on with it. Have you noticed it as well? At the bottom of each of these things that they have, maybe you can just tell me if you know what it is.
What the
There's
the letter that it links to
the
the.
highlighted letter.
Yeah, they've done this in the past. Like I think it's just Greg. Like yeah, it's a cat picture.
You
Um, yeah,
usually it
they've
is.
they they've they've done it in the past before. I've noticed it like months and months and months ago. They just like hide those little Easter eggs in there. I don't think it means anything.
Well, last week they linked an Edge Transit as one of the pictures.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, I really think it's just Easter eggs. Don't read too much into it.
Oh, the second one is Edge Transit. And let me guess, the third one here is going to be Edge Transit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Um.
I guess they're just pictures then,
Yep.
which is nice. The photo of uh it says images denied. It's not a picture of a cat this week, but the photo of the week at Bungie. Oh, the art with the high moon. We were talking about the how
The
the
art's cool. Yeah.
yeah, like, and they're sharing that every single week now, I
Yep.
guess, because like that's not the first. Well, last week they did the same thing, and the week before they did the last thing.
You know what's
Yeah.
kind of weird that I was talking about yesterday is in the TWAB we used to get the weekly high scores for the Nightfall, and now that there's 3 Nightfalls going on at once, I feel like they can't really do that feasibly anymore. I don't know.
Well, the way that they could do it is they could say, it could just be another thing, right? So like this person chose this Nightfall, and they actually picked like the highest overall score, like not just
I
the
think they'd
highest
need to
score
just
for the
put like
Nightfall, but like
a
the highest
legitimate
overall.
leaderboard in there, don't you? Like an
Well,
actual leaderboard that you can look at.
when was that put on the? How long ago did we see that they were going to make improvements on that?
I don't know.
It
I have
was
to go back and look.
way, way, way long ago,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Where we saw we're gonna make improvements on the thing. We're gonna make it
Yeah.
put a
It was
leaderboard
back
in
in
there so
like
you can.
maybe May or something.
Yeah, we wouldn't be able to find it now on the website.
Remember them being like, "Hey guys, by the way, this summer exotic armor Catalyst and Masterworks are coming, and then they were like, yeah, by the way, that's not coming even in Forsaken.
Some of them still don't have catalysts, like the Rat King and
No, but I'm talking about the armor. Like they just totally nixed that idea.
yeah, because like I don't know, like maybe because they went the direction of saying, you know, if people are using their exotic armor, that the power of the exotic should overcome the 3% difference that you're going to get from the exotic.
But they could have like done a catalyst system similar to weapons, maybe in the future.
They also could have done more explaining for why they actually made that choice, and not just saying it's
not just like taking it out of the.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, we never said that. It's kind of like how everyone talks about like, oh, remember they said the blind well was supposed to be a 6-man activity that you could launch with 6 people, and it's like they're just like not saying anything about it. They're like, yeah,
they definitely said that.
They're like, well, that never happened, you know.
they definitely said it, and that's not what we got. But because we were overwhelmed with the content that they did give us, we didn't say anything.
Yeah.
But eventually it's going to come back to bite them, though, because like we're going to say, why can't we do this why can't we do a 6-player blind well? Like that's the whole point.
Yeah.
Content drought's going to hit, and then we're like, all of our expectations for Forsaken that we didn't get are going to
I hope there's no content drought. I really do. I hope that like the content releases that they have planned keep us satisfied.
So 600 is where your head's at right now, right? Like I got it, it's 600.
600 is where my head's at right now, and then like after that, titles are where my head's at, honestly.
Yeah, titles. Well, and triumphs, like ego points that don't matter except to you.
Yeah.
Makes a difference. World of Warcraft has achievements, and
I had Max Grimoire in D1. I'm all for grinding the triumphs, but just looking at it, I don't think I'm going to be able to get everything done. I don't think I'll be able to have 100%.
What's the first title you're going to go for, if you're going to go for titles?
I think the Gambit one is the easiest. So probably that one. I'd like to go for the Crucible one, but it takes 3 seasons to achieve, no matter what you do. So.
Yeah, well, because you're going for, you don't have to go for the broadsword, do you?
No, but you have to. So to get the Crucible title, Unbroken, you have to get to 5,500 season.
Yeah, so you have to be committed.
So that's a year. That's a year from now before any. Well, unless like you got it last, somebody could have it by summer, I guess. Technically.
Well, 5,500 in competitive or
competitive.
Okay, so but they have a quick play version of that, right?
You can't. No, there's no title for.
Oh.
Yeah.
But there is for Gambit, which isn't.
Yeah. Which isn't competitive. Yeah.
Yeah, which isn't competitive.
And I think somebody might already have the. I think that's the only one anybody's gotten.
Dredgen or Dreg?
Dredgen. I think it's Dredgen. Yeah.
All right.
All right on the field. Yeah, then the raid title. That'll be the next thing probably people get.
Yeah, and then no, because that's going to take at minimum 4 weeks, right? Because the challenges only appear once a week and only when the clan is level 4.
Yeah. I'll have to take a look at the other ones too.
Yeah, you have to do because I don't know, like if it.
The 7th one. Let me ask you this: do you think the 7th one is fault for having all the titles? The one that's like.
One of them says Petra's Run of the Last Wish.
Well, no, but I'm asking you the little badge that's missing, the 7th one. Do you think that's for having all of the titles? Like if you look,
because that's Riven's Bane. Oh, for all of the titles. Oh, you're talking about the badges.
Yeah, so
there's 6 badges, but there's actually 7.
There's a missing one. Yeah, there's a missing one. I think it's for having all the titles, because my guess would be it's for having all the titles, and it's going to be called Legend. That's my guess.
Oh, because in Destiny 1 we
became Legend.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it's probable. But that's a lot of grinding. I don't
It
know,
would
man. That
be.
is a ton of grinding.
Yeah. All right. I think we've pretty much talked about everything.
Yeah, there's nothing. Nothing I have. There's nothing you have. Good twab altogether. Like
Absolutely.
they were very attentive to the issues that we've been seeing this week, and it feels like even though they didn't talk about it, it feels like they've already fixed some on the back end of the issues that they talked about last week. So like that rapid response team is really, really rapid response.
Uh
So that feels really good.
huh.
I just still I don't get these because I have the tab open with these wishes, man. These wishes are just too complicated for someone to just figure out.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to know how this is happening. Get to the bottom of this next week.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, this has been the 32nd episode of GuardianCast. Thanks everybody for being here. We will see you next week, hopefully with a Huffy on time.
Well, he had a hard morning.
He did.
So
Yeah. All right, guys. Peace.
stay easy.